Akadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Ketubot Daf 68A1. We were talking about in the Gemara, if you remember, that there was a story, because again, we were talking about different stories of Aniyim, right? So first of all, Rabbi Chanina, so Rabbi Chanina, there was an Ani that he was ragil by him for 4 zuz. He used to give every single Erev Shabbat 4 zuz. Yom Achad, one day, Shadrinu ne'aleh biyad Davitu. So he went and he sent in the hands of his wife the 4 zuz. Atai, so she came back and she told him, Lo tzarich, you don't need it. So my chazit, so what did you see? Yes or no? What did you see? What do you mean he doesn't need it? What did you see? So he says, Shami dehava ka'amrale. She heard that he was saying, B'mata said, that means she heard people were telling him, no, what do you eat today? B'mata sued. And this is where we're starting today. So he says, Bitle kesef or bitle zahav. He says, mapot of kesef or zahav, which means that the mapot of the shulchan were they made out of, meshit savud, like all the silk and everything. So Amar, he went and he said, right, that so basically, it was an ashid. He's using kispet tzedakah and he's using it like this. So he says, Hainu da Amar Rabbi Elazar, right? This is exactly what Rabbi Elazar says. Rabbi Elazar said, do you know, every time that you have this cheater, you have to say thank you. Why do you have to say thank you to the cheaters? For a very, very simple reason. You know why? If it wasn't for the cheaters, we would be sinning every single day. He says, why exactly? Shneimar says in a pasuk, "V'kara alecha al Hashem ve'yah chet." What does that mean? V'kara alecha al Hashem ve'yah chet. He comes and he says that he's going to call to you to Hashem. There's going to be a sin. So Rabbi Barav came, right? He came and he said, Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha says, right? Anybody that's going to turn his eyes away from tzedakah, it's ki'ilu they are being oved avodah zarah. So k'tiv hacha, it's written over here, because it's written by the tzedakah, you have to be careful. Because maybe there's going to be with your heart something which is going to be strange, b'liyal. And it's written over there, that they came out the people which are anshe b'liyal. So maleh halan, just like over there, the b'liyal was referring to avodah zarah. So to it's avodah zarah, which means like this: the fact that there's going to be such a concept that really be'emet, right? If somebody doesn't give tzedakah, they're doing avodah zarah. But now that there's cheaters, now that there are people which are not trustworthy, so now you have an excuse not to give it tzedakah. So what's the excuse? Listen, the guy's a trickster. I looked at the guy, I said, no, this is not for him. So what happens? So because of that, says the Gemara, we have to actually be machzik tova lahem. We have to say toda rabah to them. Why? Because if it wasn't for them, we would be in big trouble. Because imagine somebody asked you for tzedakah, and we didn't give the tzedakah. Hakadosh Baruch Hu is going to say you did avodah zarah. But now that there's a trickster, now that there's somebody that can, so now you have an excuse not to give. So it's not that you're being avodah zarah. But that's why we have to actually say toda to the Rama'im. So Tan Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, Hamsameh eteno, right? A person that shows himself ki'ilu, that he's an iver, and he's not blind, but he shows himself ki'ilu that he's blind. V'matzbeh etno, or he's showing, right, that ki'ilu is beten, his stomach is nafuach, is how do you call nafuach? Is bloated, yeah, because of the sickness. V'mkapeach et shoko, or somebody that's showing that is shock. Right, that basically that he's limping, right? So he says, "Eno niftar mina olam ad shevo lidekach," which means that that's why he's doing this thing. He's trying to get compassion. He's trying to get mercy. So when people give him tzedakah, so he shows that he's blind. A guy sees everything, but he's showing he's blind, right? The same thing with all other things. So therefore, it says the Gemara, "Eno niftar mina olam ad shevo." He will need to be. He will become blind, or he will become like whatever the case is. He comes and he says, if somebody's going to be mitkabel tzedakah, he receives tzedakah, and he doesn't need the tzedakah. So at the end, he will not leave this world until bemet he needs tzedakah. So you have a guy that he doesn't need tzedakah, but he's taking tzedakah. At the end, he will actually come and need the tzedakah before he leaves this world. Okay? Tanan we learned over there in the Mishnah in Peah. It comes over here and it says like this, the Mishnah Peah chet, somebody that has 200 zuz. So we know that means if a person has 200 zuz, which is basically the salary of 1 full year. Person has a salary of 1 full year, he says he's not allowed to take shikha, peah, maaser ani, all the different things of an ani. Why? He's not an ani. He's got a salary of a full year. Yeah? So he says, but if he doesn't have 200 zuz, So they're not going to obligate him to come and to sell his house, right? And all to get that amount, right? Before he takes tzedakah, they don't obligate him to do that. So says the Gemara, Velo, are you going to tell me that you're not going to obligate him to come and start selling things in order to get that money and then he doesn't need tzedakah? Tanya, we learned in a Braita, Haya ani, haya mishtamesh b'kli zahav. Imagine you have this guy that he's using kli zahav. So yishtamesh b'kli zahav, which means sell it and get kli zahav. So you have this rich guy, right, that he started becoming poor. So says the Gemara, you see from here that if he had gold utensils, sell it and use silver. That's what the Gemara says. Kli chesed, he uses it in silver utensils, right? Sell it, yishtamesh b'kli nechoshet, and use kli nechoshet. So you see from here that in order not to receive tzedakah, we do obligate you to come and sell your properties or your things in order to come and to use it.
Normal.
Right? It's normal. So he comes and he says, Amar Razi, Razi says, Lakash, that's not a question. He comes and he says this. One of them is talking about a mita v'shulchan, and one of them is talking about kosot ve'karot. What does that mean? One of them we're talking about the table and the beds. And the other one we're talking about the cups, right, and the plates. What does that mean? The mita v'shulchan, right, and we're talking about what does that mean? The mita v'shulchan, right, that's what we said, that you're going to come and you're going to obligate it. That is only the mita v'shulchan, but not the kosot ve'karot, right? Why? Because usually a person will not switch these things, right? The kosot ve'karot, these are things that you eat on. It's much, you're not going to start eating on other people's, or so that is much more mita v'shulchan. Everybody, right? Everybody comes. So let's see. Says the Gemara, Maishna kosot ve'karot delo. Why is it kosot ve'karot not? Why wouldn't we come and tell you, switch? You have a certain type of cup, sell your cups, get cheaper cups. You have certain types of plates, sell your plates, right, and get cheaper plates. He says, Damar me'isali, because the person is going to say, you're eating from there. Understand? Why? You're eating, I'm going to now eat from somebody else's plates or somebody else's cups. So he says, Mita v'shulchan nami. Amar lo mika. Well, mita v'shulchan, you don't care about, right, sleeping on the same bed. I think on the table, it's much less of a problem. But, and nowadays also, at the end of the day, when you're a guest, you go to people's houses, right? You eat on, it's not that you're not going to eat on a plate, but you're going to say, you know what, right? Or you go to a restaurant, you say, listen, I want a new plate, right? Why? Because I don't want anybody's plate beforehand, right? Or caterers. Obviously, we don't have that nowadays, but obviously there's a difference, right?
Same thing about hotel.
Right? Yeah. So, Amar Rava Beredera. Says Rava Beredera, the macharisha de kaspa. We're talking about the macharisha. What does that mean? We're talking about the macharisha of kesef. So here we're talking about that a person is obligated to sell like an expensive utensil for a cheaper utensil. Everyone knows the macharisha. It's like the
silver plow.
But it's a plow, right? That means it's not that you're using it for eating, or we're talking about you have a plow. So instead of coming and using this expensive plow, you're coming and using something which is much cheaper. Gives another answer. Sort of Papa Amar of Papa says, like a question. Kan kodem she'yavo lidei gibui, the kan la'achar she'yavo lidei gibui. He comes and he says like this. The Mishnah that says that you should not sell the kleta shmish in order to get to the 200 zuz, we're talking about before he took matanot levyonim. And then he's not going to come, the Betin will come and collect it from him. Here, the Braita, which is talking about after he already took the leket, shikha, peah, and everything, and he's known to be a rich person. So Betin will come and take it away from him, right? Because then it's going to be like a knas, right? So therefore, one more time, if before he came and he took the presents, remember, leket, shikha, peah, all these things are presents, right? If it's before the presents, so then we're not going to come and obligate him to come and sell it, right? Why? Before he went, I mean, it's before he took it, we come and say, listen, you're not obligated to come and sell your properties, so you could still take it. But, exactly, that's what we just read, this Shabbat, yeah? But if it's going to be afterwards, which means he came and he collected all these things. He said, what are you taking all these things? You're some rich guy, what are you doing? He says, no, I don't have. He said, okay, no, knas. What's the knas? Take this rich thing or whatever, this expensive utensil, give a knas, you have to sell it in order to get a cheaper utensil. We are on the Mishnah in Masechet Ketubot Daf, 68a Mishnah. Yetoma sheyasiata ima or achea midata. We're talking about a yetoma ktana, right? That the mother or the brother got her married, right? And now what happens is the katvula, so they wrote in the Nedunya Ketubah of 100 or 50 zuz. So they wrote down b'mea or b'chamishim zuz, which is a very, very small amount. Yechola hi meshitagdil leotzi mi'adar masher ho'il linaten la. She could take away according which was fit for her to receive. What does that mean? Usually a tenth of the property goes towards the nedunya of the daughter. 1/10 of the father's property. Now, obviously, the father passed away beforehand. So who got her married? The mother or the brother?
They don't have to, right?
What?
They don't.
No, but they got her married. The mother or their brother got her married. She could do miyun, exactly. Only in that case she could do miyun, exactly. But one second, before miyun, we're not talking about miyun. She was married happily ever after. However, though, instead of giving her the 10th of the property, they gave her 100 zuz, or they gave her 50 zuz for nedunya. So now when she gets older, when she becomes bat mitzvah, she could go to betin and she could take out from their hands the 10% of the property. Why? That's what's magiala, right? That's what she gets.
Then
As the Mishnah, the Yehuda says, "Imi siyata bata rishona, yinaten lashniya kederech shenatan lerishona." What happens if the father got the first daughter married? He was still alive. Yeah, so then you have to give to the second daughter after the death of the father exactly what was given to the first one, right? Which means whether it's going to be more or whether it's going to be less. So let's say for the first daughter, he went and he gave her a Yerusha, not a Yerusha, nedunya, a dowry of whatever it is, huge amount. Second daughter, the exact same. He passed away, doesn't matter, because the way that they gave for the first daughter, that's what he probably for sure would have wanted. Also, right? For obviously, we're talking about something like which one?
He's only worth 90%.
The Chachamim say, "Pe'amim shadam ani ve'eshir or eshir ani." Right? He says, yeah, but one second, the rabbis are saying, I think what Mordechai tried to say beforehand, yeah, but what happens all of a sudden now? He became poor, or he became richer. So now what are you going to do now? Because it could be that the first child, let's say she gave $100,000, and all of a sudden he lost, I don't know how much during the corona, and now he passes away. So now what? You're going to give $100,000 to the second daughter? There's nothing left. You understand? Or the other way around. He gave to the first daughter 10,000, and all of a sudden he started making millions. So now what? He's going to give 10,000 to the second daughter. He's going to give much more. So because of that, you're right. Because of that, according to the Shita, says the Chachamim, we're going to evaluate the properties in the Yerusha, and we're going to give her according to the value, which means that we're going to come and give her according to now what the value is. Right? We're going to prorate according to what it is right now. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara. Amar Shemuel, says Shemuel, leparnasa, to do with parnasa, which means which nedunya you're giving to your daughter, right? Or this is talking about for a yitoma. So then shamin be'av, we evaluate in the father, okay? Which means that we try to look into the father. Was he a person with a big heart? Was he kamtzan, right? Sometimes you have people which they're kamtzanim, right? And sometimes you have people that they have a big heart. So it all depends on they're going to evaluate the father. So Meitve, they're going to ask the following question: Habanot nizonet umitparnason yichseavihen. When it's written that the girls are going to get the parnasa right from the properties of the father, right after death. Case, what's the case? We're not going to say ilu avia kayam that if the father was alive, this is what he would have given to her. We just said, can we evaluate the properties and we give her? So my love of parnasa tabal, we're not talking about then the parnasa, right, that she's coming into their husbands during the time of the wedding. So Amar Rav Nachman said, no, the parnasat atzma. We're talking about when she's still not married. Meaning, what does she get, right, to eat during this time frame until she gets married? It's called the parnasa atzma, until she gets married, right, which means not that she's bringing into her husband. What she's bringing into her husband, we already explained what halacha is. Now we're talking about what she's still staying until, she's still by the brothers. So says the Gemara, hanizonot u'parnasot ktani. We already said that they get it, but it's written also nizonot. They're two different words. One is mizonot, one is parnasa. My lover, we're not talking about achat parnasat baal, achat parnasat atzma. When you use two different terminologies, mizonot or parnasa, are we not referring to the two different things? One of them is the mizonot or the parnasa. One of them is of the baal towards the husband, and one of them is for herself, which is basically one of them is a dowry, and one of them is until she gets married. So it says, no. We're talking about parnasat atzma. A question. He's saying one of them is talking about achila ushtia. Achila ushtia is eating and drinking, and one of them is levush and ksut, which means clothing. So the Braita that comes and says that mizonot, right, and the malbushim she gets from the properties of the father, that's going to be according to how the father was when he passed away, and not according to how the father was generous or not generous. Okay, but the nedunya, right? There it could be according to the dot of the father and like the words of Shemuel. So now we learned in the Mishnah. Chachamim say, sometimes a person who was rich, he became poor, or poor, he became rich. But rather we come and we evaluate, right, the properties and we give her. What does it mean ani v'ashid? If you're going to tell me ani was ani b'nechasim and ashid is b'nechasim, are you going to tell me that shitat the Tanakama was that even if he was very, very poor and now became rich, they're still going to give her according to the first one? Or the other way around as well? Halele, he doesn't have any money anymore. Elalav, but rather, ani is ani bedat. The ashid is ashid bedat. Right? Which means, no, it doesn't mean that rich or poor. It means in his mind. What was this person? Was he a giving person, that he would give everything, or was he not? So he comes and he says, Uktani, we learned, we're going to evaluate the properties, and then we're going to give it to her. Alma, so you see from here, we don't go after the umdina. Remember, umdina is what? Is that we're going to go after evaluation. This is against Shemuel. So says the Gemara, no. This he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanam is going to Mishnah Yehuda when Yehuda says, what right now if she got married, meaning the first daughter got married and the father gave a certain amount, so now and then he passes away, you're going to give it to the second daughter just like the first one. The reason why is because we're going to say that for sure that if the father was alive, he would have given the exact same thing in order not to differentiate between the two different children. So says the Gemara, so fine. The name halacha Rabbi. So why don't you just say the halacha is like Rabbi? Say the halacha is like Rabbi, that this is what you do. So says the Gemara, if you would have said the halacha Rabbi, Hava mina would have thought to say dafka hisiya only if he got her married. The gali date that he was revealing his mind. But if the father did not get her married, then you wouldn't say this. Kamash Maran comes teach you the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda is the zina batarunda that we do go after umdana. Doesn't matter whether he got her married or he didn't get her married. We come and we make an umdana. How would the father get her married? So it says the Gemara, so why exactly did we teach the case that he got her married? To teach us the strength of the Rabbanan, that even though, right, he got her married, and he already revealed what he wants to give to his daughters as a nedunya, we don't say that we go after umdina, right, in the second one, but rather we come and we say that it could be that maybe it changes, right? We give according to his properties. Why? Because things change, people change, right? All of a sudden they come and say, you know what? They want to give more, right? I know a lot of people that at the beginning they used to spend a fortune on weddings, right? From the corona, they went and said, why are you going to send such a fortune wedding? I prefer you do a much cheaper wedding, right? And they give the money to the couple. They should start their new lives. They should have a house. They should have, they should have, all these things, right? Why? Because it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. Right. Says the Gemara, Elmaleh Rava Rav Chasta. Says Rava to Rav Chasta. Darshinan mishema. Right? We are going to be Doresh in your name, the Chazak of Yehuda. So Elmaleh says, Yehe Rava kol ki ayin yanimile meliata tidrishu mishmai. He says it should be the will of Hashem that you should always say good things in my name. Kilu good derashot. Kilu, if that's what they said that the Chazak of Yehuda, right, that we're going to come and say that we're going to start evaluating, right, the properties and everything, so it's good that you should say these things in my name. So says the Gemara, does Rava actually say that? But we learned to the Braita. Rabbi says, we just said that if a girl is having parnasah from the brothers, right, so she's going to take, right, an isur nechasim. Isur nechasim was, we already said, was a tenth of the property. So we're not going to start evaluating what the father give it, not give it. He was a cheapskate. He was very, he had a heart of gold. We don't start evaluating all these things. Rava says, so says the Gemara, that's not a question. What does that mean? We're talking about the psak of Rabbi Yehuda that we're going to give according to the father is that we know very, very well the father. So we know how to calculate what will the father give. The other case of Rabbi, that we're just going to give 10%, is that we don't know him very, very well. Meaning that we don't know, right? Maybe it could be that because he changed every single time, or because he was like, some type of a quiet guy that didn't speak a lot. So you don't really know. So because you don't really know, there we come and we have the general rule. Okay? It's also logical to say this. There was a story, right? The Yetomah came, and she wanted a big nidunya. ונתן לה רבי אחד מ-12 בנכסים. So Rabbi gave her a 12th of the nechasim, right? So therefore it comes and it says, so kasha nadadi. He says, one second, what's going on? Are you talking about you get a 10th or you getting a 12th? So you learn from here, hadam dineh, hadalom dineh, shemamina. So it all depends on whether you know him or not. If you knew the father very, very well, and you knew that the father would give everything, so therefore you will come and you understand. It all depends whether you knew him well or not.
It's like for the tickets
Okay.
in the restaurant.
Rufa, Amar Rabbi. Rabbi comes and he says, Bat anizonet min achim. When you have the daughter that she's getting parnasa from the brothers, she's going to take a tenth of the property. Amrulo le Rabbi, they told Rabbi, Dvarecha, according to your words, right? That's what I think David asked that, no? He says what? If there's going to be 10 daughters, right, and one boy, so that's it. Why? If every daughter takes 10%, right, there's nothing left for the boy. So Malayan, he says, no, kachani omer. This is what I say, right? It's just like Masechta and all the other things, right? The first one takes 10%, right? The shniya takes 10% of whatever is left over. The third one takes 10% of whatever is still left over. And then they continue going like that until it goes until the end, right?
But you
So-
get to the boy first.
Which one? Ask the Gemara. It says each one is going to come and take it, right? And therefore, which is going to be a 10%. So therefore, what's going to be left over? So if so, why are you coming and you're dividing it equally afterwards between everyone afterwards? So it says the Gemara, Haki Kamar. This is what it means to say. If all of them get married at once. Meaning before we were talking about that they were getting married in a certain order. So the one that gets married first, she gets 10%, right? Of the entire pot. The second one, 10% of whatever's left. And you continue going. So it all depends when they get married. Says the Gemara, what happens if they all come to get married at the same time? So in such a case, they take it and they divide it equally, which means at the beginning, they're going to take the 10%. Second one is going to take whatever's left over and they continue going, right? And then that's how they know whatever's left over for the boy. Then afterwards they come and they put everything in the pot. And now they divide it equally. Everyone understood? Yeah? Okay. So, Misayeh Aleh Rav Matna. This is a proof to Rav Matna. The Amar Rav Matna says Rav Matna. If all of them wanted to come and get married together, they're going to take 10%. Says the Gemara. What? I don't understand. All the girls, there was how many girls here? There was 10 girls, yeah? So he says, all the girls here, right, they're going to come, they're only going to take 10%. If they get married separately, they're going to take 100%. Now they're getting married together, they're going to take 10%. Rather, they take it like one. What does that mean? Just like the way that we explained it before. Okay, next. We learned on the Braita. Habanot, the girls. Ben bagruat shelo nisu, ben nisut shelo bagruat. Doesn't matter whether they got married before to become a bogeret, or they got married before becoming or after becoming. Ibdu mizonotehen. They came and they lost their parnasa.
From who?
From their father, because remember that the father only gives them parnasa when he dies until they become a bogeret or until they get married. That is the t'nai of the ketubah. The t'nai of the ketubah is until then. Velo ibdu parnasatan, but they did not lose their dowry. Meaning the dowry they don't lose. They lose the parnasa, but they don't lose the dowry. These are the words of Rabbi, even Rabbi. Rabbi says, Afi ibdu parnasatan. They also come and they lose their parnasa. How do they do then? Right? So he comes and he says, Sofrot lahem be'alim. Right? They come and they're going to get them married, right? Close to when they're becoming bogrot. Mosilem parnasan, and then they're going to take the 10% for the nedunya, right? Which means that they're going to come and they're going to get married purposely in order to get the 10%, right? So that's how they're getting the money. So that's how they're going to be doing. So Rav Nachman says, Rav Nachman, Amar Huna said, right? Meaning we didn't want to come and give that these girls are going to come and start, getting married to men, right? In order just to take out money from the nedunya. So what happened? So because of that, we pass on like Rabbi, that no matter what, even if they didn't get married right at the time of Bogeret, even if they wait another 5 years, 6 years, doesn't matter what, they still get their 10%, right, for their nedunya. 8v, right? Rava Rav Nachman. Rava comes and he asks the following question from Rav Nachman. Yetoma shesiata ima o achea midata. What happens if you have a yetoma? The mother or the brother got her married off midata. So they wrote 150. They wrote 50 or 100. So we already said it. This was our Mishnah, if you remember. We said that what? That when she gets older, she can take it out of their hands. Tama, it was only because of the Ktana. Hagdola, Vitra. What happens if she was a Gdola? Remember right now, she's 15 years old. They come and they write down in the Ketubah 100 or 50, whatever it is. They didn't write down the 10%. So it's smashma that she's mevateret.
Can they marry her off if she's not a...
Says the Gemara. That's another question. It all depends whether she made a mecha or not. If she went and she rebuked right away, and she said, "Listen, I know that you guys are giving me less now, but don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. You understand? We'll take care of business." So therefore, she made a mecha. Mecha means she rebuked. She said no. So then what? She didn't lose it, right? Why? Because she went and she said that she's not mevateret. But if she didn't make a mecha, so then she was mevateret on the nedunya, the rest of the nedunya. Hachi nami mistabra. It's also logical to say this. In Kembez, if so, kashya de Rabbi. It's going to be a question from Rabbi to Rabbi. The time was learned to the Braita. Rabbi says, "But nizon mina achin." When you have a daughter that is going to be nizon mina achin, not tell it isur nechasim. You're going to be taking isur nechasim, right? Nizonet in and nizonet lo. Only if she's going to be nizonet from the brothers when she's a ktana or nara, then she collects the nedunya. But if not, then she doesn't collect the nedunya. But rather it comes to teach you it all depends whether she made a mecha or not. If she made a mecha before she became a bogeret, so if she's not mevateret on the nedunya, but if she didn't make a mecha, so she's mevateret. Shmamina, we actually learn from here that only in a case where she made a mecha does she not lose, right, the nedunya. Okay, so Amaleh Ravina l'Rava says Ravina to Rava. Amarlan Rava the Barava says Rava the Barava mishmach in your name. Bagra in a limchot. If she became a bogeret, she doesn't have to make a mecha to not lose the nedunya. Niset in a limchot. Also, if she got married when she was a nara, she doesn't have to do mecha. Bagra niset only if she has both. Tarte letivuta, which means she was also a bogeret and also she gets married. Now she has to make a mecha. You understood? Meaning, if it was only one, whether she was a na'ara and she got married, or right, she was bagra and didn't get married, you don't have to do the mecha yet. Why? She's not mevateret on anything. She doesn't forgive on anything. It's only if you have both of them, also bogeret and also niset, that's when she has to make a mecha. So says the Gemara, Miyama Rava. Does Rava say such a thing? This is Ravina to Rava. He says, does he say, Veha eitvei Rava l'Rav Nachman yitoma. Rava was one that answered that you had to make the mecha or not make the mecha. So you see from here that according to Rava, everything depends on the mecha. So says the Gemara, like a question. He says, here we're talking about that she's nizonet minachim even after the marriage, and here we're talking about that she's not nizonet minachim after the marriage. It all depends whether they continued giving the mizonot after the marriage or not. Since the brothers were giving the mizonot even though they weren't chayav, so then she's embarrassed to ask for the nedunya. So therefore they went and they said that if she's shoteket, so she's mochelet on the nedunya. But if they didn't give her the parnasa afterwards, so they're not. You know, many times somebody does for you a favor, so now you're embarrassed to ask for them something else. So it could be the one set, so now you're mochel. Why? Because now you kept quiet. Oh, so that's it. So you're mochel now. So same thing, if they continue giving you parnasa afterwards, which they were not obligated to, so it could be. So now she's not going to ask for the nedunya. So if it's like that, so then she was mochelet on the nedunya. So Amar Ravuna, Amar Rabbi, says Ravuna in the name of Rabbi, parnasa, right? Ena ketnai ktuba. Do you know that the zechut of the yitoma to get parnasa is not like the zechut of mizonot, what she gets from the tnai ktuba? So says the Gemara, what does that mean? My ena ketnai ktuba. If you're going to tell me dilu parnasa tarfam mishabde, because the parnasa she takes from nechasim mishubadim, properties which are even mishubad, which they have their lien. Utnai ktuba lota, and tnai ktuba does not take from the lien. What's going to teach you? You see that there's many stories that bedin come and they take away parnasa, but they don't take away from mizonot. Meaning they'll take away from a nedunya, but they won't take away from parnasa for just some food. But parnasa they do take it from movable objects. And anything which is a tnai ketubah, meaning like this, anything which is a tnai ketubah, they only take it from land. They don't take it from movable objects. Meaning if it's a ketubah in itself, you take it from movable objects. But if it's going to be only a tnai ketubah, they don't take it from movable objects. They only take it from the karka. So it says the Gemara, Rebbe, Idi, Migva Gavia. According to Rebbe, you do collect them. The Tana was learned to the right. Doesn't matter whether we're talking about properties that they do have a collateral or not. Right? They do take away from the mezona isha v'banot. These are the words of Rebbe. Elamai parnasa, what does it mean parnasa? Ena keterek ketubah, that's not keterek ketubah. Lechtani la learned in the bright. Haomer al yezunu minotav v'nechatzav v'shomino. If somebody's going to come and he's going to say that I don't want that his, I mean, basically the guy is coming and saying he doesn't want his daughters to get parnasa after his death, you don't listen to him. Ela, rather, ali parnasu minotav v'nechatzav. But if he's saying that from his properties, ali parnasu minotav, right? That means basically parnasa v'shomino. Meaning like this: a person says he doesn't want to give to his daughters dowry, they listen to him. But not parnasa. Parnasa is food; they have to give them food. But dowry, they do listen to him. Parnasa is not like a chov, right? Like it's not ketubah, but rather it's a chov on the yitomim, right? That if the father didn't say anything, they have to give them da nedunya. So therefore, that's going to be the difference between the two different things. And then obviously we're going to continue with Zat Hashem tomorrow with the rest.